All right. So when we solve an inequality, that just means that it's gonna have a greater than or less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to sign. And basically, you do it exactly how you would do it if it was an equal sign. But the difference is, and I think you've learned this in algebra, but the difference is if you multiply or divide by a negative number, then you have to reverse the inequality sign, okay? So if you look at this example right here, they had +5, so they subtracted 5, and then they got -3x is less than or equal to -21, and then they divided by a negative, so they switched the sign, okay? That's the big thing that you're gonna have to look at today. So these are common questions you could get on your MCAs, and did I tell you guys I think the MCAs, we do 3 days, I'm not positive on that, but they start on the 22nd. And what is today, the 3rd? So I wonder what date that is, the 22nd. You think it's a Tuesday? Okay. So yeah, it is a Tuesday. So, and then we will be taking that, really, truly, I should have to cover those signs. And if I cover those, then we can take it in here. I just can't have anything up that would help you on the quiz. Okay, so in this one, instead of giving you an inequality, they're giving you the answer, and you have to decide which one of these has that answer. So some of them you could probably tell just by looking. Like here, if you just looked at this, if you divided by 2, are you gonna get greater than 6? You're not, right? So maybe do that in one this easy. Here, if we divided by a -2, would we get m is greater than or equal to 6? So if we divide that by -2, that is 6. When you divide by a negative, you have to switch your sign. So that one does work. But if I were you, I would look at the other two just to make sure. So here, if I subtract 9, it's a -6. And here, if I subtract 4, I get -m is greater than or equal to 10 minus 4 is 6. And then I divide by a -1. And when I do that, m is less than or equal to -6. So it's not that one, okay? So it's obviously B then, right? Especially, like I've been telling you guys, you have time to go over problems. So I would make sure to check everything and just make sure you're right. So if I go over this one, the first one is 5 plus P is less than or equal to 14. So if I bring that 5 over, I get P is less than or equal to 9. And this wants us to say which one of these is P is less than 9. This one works, so I'm gonna circle that one. And then you could have all of them, so you have to check if all of them work. If I look at the next one, it's 4P is less than, oh, no, this is the second one. I should probably go in order. So if I look at that one, it's P minus 12 is less than or equal to -3. If I add 12, I get P, and I don't have to change my sign in this one. -3 plus 12 is 9, and that P is less than or equal to 9 is what we want. So this one works. Then if I look at that one, this one might be easy just to do this. Are we gonna get P is less than or equal to 9 for that one? Yes, okay. And then the last one is negative 3p is greater than or equal to negative 14. Are we gonna get p is less than or greater, less than or equal to 9 for this? No. So now if we look at our answers, it's not all of them, it's not none of them. This is all but 4, that would be our answer. And then the last one, is it just 2 and 3? All right, so let's look at this one. Here we're gonna solve this. So we have 24 is greater than or equal to 66 plus p. Now we wanna get p by itself. So I'm gonna subtract 66. Okay, and I get p. 24 minus 66 is negative 42. Okay. Now, this is important, you guys. When you have a inequality and you write the answer, p has to be on the other side. P has to be on the left. P is on the right here. How you rewrite it is, I could explain it one of 2 ways. One way you could think of it is you're looking at it from right to left. So p, and notice the sign, the less than sign is going towards p. You know, my little v is going towards p. So that sign would switch, okay? And then it would be negative 42. So it's like if you're reading it this way, this sign would be less than or equal to, and then negative 42. The other way you can think of it is just switch these and switch your sign. Switch these and switch your sign. So p is less than or equal to negative 42. Okay? So we always want to move that p to the left side. So this is 6 minus x is less than or equal to 18. I'm going to subtract 6. And I get negative x is less than or equal to 12. Now, that is like negative 1x. So what I'm going to do there is divide by a negative 1, okay? And because I'm dividing by a negative, I switch my sign, and it's x is greater than or equal to negative 12. So you have to remember to switch your sign. Now if I look at this one, I have x divided by 6, subtract 2 is less than 5. So when I go to solve this, I'm first going to add 2, and I get x divided by 6 is less than 7. Now, do you guys remember, like in in algebra, if you have x divided by 6 and you want to get rid of that 6, you can multiply both sides by 6. And what happens then is these are gone. Those cancel, and you would get x is less than 42. So you can always get rid of that 6 on the bottom by multiplying both by that. So here we'd get x is less than 42. Okay. Then if I look at this one, we have n minus 2n minus 9 is less than or equal to 4. Now, here's another thing that kids oftentimes forget. When you have a minus sign in front of parentheses, would you guys know that you have to change both of these signs? So this would become negative 2n. So I'm changing that sign. And this one would become positive 9. Now another way I explain that, in case that kind of is confusing to you, when you have a minus in front of parentheses, think of it as negative 1 times that, and distribute your negative 1. And if you have negative 1 times 2n, that's negative 2n. If you have negative 1 times a negative 9, 2 negatives make it plus. But if you have a parenthesis with just a minus sign in front, you have to switch both, or if there were 4 signs, you switch all of them. Now, this is 1n minus 2n, which is minus 1n. 1 minus 2 is a negative 1. I still have that plus 9, okay? Then I'm going to subtract 9, and I have negative 1n is less than or equal to negative 5. Then I'm going to divide by a negative 1. Is this one of those I have to switch my signs? Yes. So this is going to be greater than or equal to 5. Okay. So this one, if we look at this, we have negative 5 times 6y plus 22 is less than negative 12y plus 70. Okay. What I'm going to do here is distribute. Negative 5 times 6y is negative 30y. Negative 5 times 22 is negative 110. And then I still have is less than negative 12y plus 70. Okay? Now I'm going to bring that y over, so I'm going to add 12y. Negative 30y plus 12y is negative 18y. And then I have minus 110 is less than 70. And then I would add 110. And I get negative 18y is less than 180. Divide by negative 18. And this is one where we're dividing by a negative, so we have to flip the sign, so it's greater than negative 10. Y is greater than negative 10. Okay? Here, what we're going to talk about next is how do we graph these, okay? Because that's going to be another thing that's on the quiz. And if you guys remember from last year when you were in algebra, if you ever have to graph on a number line and your sign is less than or greater than only, you're going to put an open dot there, okay? If your sign is less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, we're going to put a closed dot, okay? And then if you have a number line, and remember your variable you always want to have on the left-hand side. If it's less than, what we're going to do is exactly what you would think. Less than would go towards the left, and then greater than, you would go to the right, because that's where your bigger numbers are. And then this is what I've been talking about. Your variable always has to be on the left after you solve it. Okay. Now, which inequality is represented for this? And this is one of those where you'd have to go through and check which one it is. So let's try 4 minus p is less than negative 7. So I'm going to bring that 4 over. Can you guys tell right here? Oh, no, you can't actually. Gotta ask that. We have negative p is less than negative 11. So to get rid of that negative, I divide by a negative 1, okay? And then I have to switch my sign so p is greater than 11. If it's shaded to the left, is that greater than? No, right? If it's greater than, it should be shaded to the right.
Wouldn't we not even try the top two because it's a closed dot on 11?
Oh, good. Yeah, for sure. Good one. Do you guys all get that? These two have no equal sign, so you can eliminate those two right there. Good, Grace. Now if we look, do you guys see that really what I did for this one is the same as this, except it has that equals, right? So I could change this, and it would just, you could follow that through the problem. So what we assume then is it's C, but like I said, if I were you, especially on that test, I would check it. So let's do that. Bring the 4 over, we're gonna subtract 4. And we get negative P is greater than or equal to. Negative 7 minus 4 is negative 11. And then we divide by a negative 1, so P is less than or equal to 11. And that is what this is. It's a solid line because it's less than and equal to, and it's pointing to the left, so that is the one that we want, okay? All right, so now let's go to this page. And then this, we're gonna solve this and see which one of these it is, okay? So I'm gonna subtract 3. And I get negative 4x is greater than 18. And then if you divide by a negative 4, remember that means you have to switch your sign. And 18 divided by a negative 4 is going to be negative 4.5, I believe. Okay? So then we just have to check which one of these has an open circle at negative 4.5 and is shaded. If it's less than, we want it shaded to the left. So which one would be our answer? A. Yep. Shaded to the left. And it's at negative 4.5, so that would be our answer. Okay? Now if we look at this one, when it doesn't have the multiple choice, that means that's one of those that you're gonna have to show your work on, okay? So make sure you're showing your work on this. We're gonna distribute that minus 4. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Negative 4 times 2x is minus 8x. And that is less than 9. Okay? 1x minus 8x is negative 7x. And then it's subtract 12 is less than 9. Okay? Then I'm going to add 12. And I get negative 7x is less than 21. Divide by a negative 7, and then I have to flip my sign, and it would be x is greater than a negative 3. Now they want us to graph that, so this is our answer. So when I go to negative 3, do I do an open circle or a closed circle? Open, very good. And then if it's greater than, do I shade to the left or to the right? Right. Now how I do this, I just kind of do this wavy line and then I make this arrow big. You don't have to do it that way, you can just shade it the whole line, but that's how I usually do it. Okay. Then if we look at this one, this is another one where you have to show all your work. So let's distribute here. So I get 5x minus 4 times 7 is minus 28. Minus 4 times 2x is negative 8x, and that is greater than a negative 13. Okay? 5x minus 8x is negative 3x. Subtract 28 is greater than negative 13. And then we're going to add 28. And I get negative 3x is greater than negative 13 plus 28 is 15. Then I'm going to divide by a negative 3. And x, 15 divided by a negative 3 is negative 5. Do I have to switch my sign? I do. Okay. Then if I go to graph this one, I am going to go to negative 5, and it's an open circle. Do I shade to the left or to the right? Left. Okay. Okay. So something like that. All right. So let's look here. So there's another type of question that you're gonna have where they put inequalities together. They're called compound inequalities, okay? So this, what can happen is if you ever had these two inequalities, okay? What this is saying is x is greater than 2, and this is saying x is less than 6. You can combine those together sometimes, not always. But if you notice here, x is less than 6 is what this is. And then if I wanted to switch this around to get it to look like this, notice that if I wrote it right to left, it would be 2, and then if you remember what I said, if you're reading it right to left, you switch the sign, and then you'd have your x. So if you read it that way, this goes right here, okay? And it doesn't work all the time, but sometimes it does. So then, when you get something looking like this, where your signs are less than, or less than and equal to, what you can do to graph that is you're gonna go to 2 and you're gonna go to 6. Because these two are just less than, they're open circles. And then when the x is between those like that, you graph in between those two numbers, okay? Now this one is exactly the same thing. The only difference is it has the equals. So instead of having the open circles, it has the closed circles, okay? Now, like I said, that works if your signs are less than, not greater than, okay? So this one they are. So what you can do is go to your -2, and do you guys get your -2 should have an open circle, right? And then your 1 should have a closed circle, and that x is between those two, and they're less than, so it would be shaded in between. Do you get that? Okay, so that would be our answer. Then let's look at this one, okay? So it's trying to get us to say which one of these would this answer be. Do you guys get if there's nothing, like this one couldn't be that because there'd only be one inequality, so we have to try these. So let's go to 3, and it's, or I'm sorry, B, and it's 3 is less than or equal to -3x, which is less than or equal to 9. Okay, now we're gonna divide by a -3 on all of these. That's how you would solve that. Whatever you do to the middle, you do to the left and right side also. So then you just think of what's 3 divided by a -3, that's -1, is less than or equal to, a -3 divided by a -3 cancels, so that's x. And then 9 divided by a -3 is -3. So we want to find, now, actually this is one where we have x between a -1 and a -3. So you have to think about this. If I read this way, I should explain this way. If you have the between, okay, with the less than signs, your smaller number would have to be on the left. -3 is not our smaller number, so this one is not going to work, okay? If you have one of them where x is between and your signs are less than, your smallest number has to be on the left. So this one is not going to work. So then, do you guys get that? So then if I go to my next one, let's try C and do 3 is greater than or equal to -3x, which is greater than 9. If I divide by a -3, actually actually, I'm always gonna get a 1 on that side. Okay, let's just try this out. This is -1. These cancel, so we get x. This is greater than. 9 divided by a -3 is -3. Okay?
It's button.
Yep,
Aren't you supposed to put this on? To divide.
for this one. Yes. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. So it was greater than or equal to, and it's gonna become less than or equal to. Now, another thing, when I look at this one and this one, how did I get the same thing?
You didn't flip the signs for that one either.
Oh, how am I doing today, guys? So this is greater than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Okay. So do you guys understand this rule? If it's less than or equal to, this number has to be smaller than that number, okay? If it's greater than or equal to, this number has to be smaller than that number. Do you guys get that? So if it's greater than or equal to, this number is smaller, which is this, and then this number is here. They're both closed circles, and you would shade in between. Now, if you were on a test, because this was our B, and you're like, I'm just not quite sure if that is correct, you could try -2 in this and see if it works. Because -2 is graphed here, and you'd go 3 is less than or equal to, -3 times a -2 is 6, which is less than or equal to 9. Does that work? Yes. Then if you check this one, it would be 3 is greater than or equal to. If you went -3 times the -2, that's 6. And then we'd have greater than or equal to 9, okay? If you read this, is 3 greater than or equal to 6, and is 6 greater than or equal to 9? No. So that one doesn't work, so that's another way that you can check if it's correct, okay? Now let's look at this one, and they want us to show our work, so I'm gonna add 8. Okay, now -22 plus 8 is -14. Is less than 7x, these cancel, which is less than 21. I'm gonna divide by 7, and -14 divided by 7 is -2, which is less than x, which is less than 3, okay? When your signs are less than, remember you want this number less than that, and it is. So when we go to graph that one, that is gonna be one of the in-between ones. We're gonna do an open circle at -2 and open circle at 3, and we're gonna graph in between. And then think, okay, we're on the test, we wanna make sure we're right. An easy number to check would be 0. If you put 0 in there, it would be -28 is less than 0 minus 8 is -8, which is less than 13. Is -22 less than -8? It is. Is -8 less than 13? It is. So that tells us that that is correct. Okay? Now, let's go to the last one. Okay? We're gonna solve this. And you can kind of look and think, are there any that I could get rid of? Okay, probably our answers are gonna be this one and this one. Okay, well, that one or that one. So let's check it out. We're gonna go -30 is less than -9x minus 12, which is less than 15. Okay, now I'm gonna add 12, because I wanna get rid of the number before I get rid of the variable. And I add 12 to all 3 parts. -30 plus 12 is -18. this cancels, I get negative 9x, and then it's less than 15 plus 12, which is 27, okay? Now, I can do this and divide by a negative 9, okay? Negative 18 divided by a negative 9 is 2, okay? This cancels and I have x, oh, I have to switch the sign again. So this is greater than, because I'm dividing by a negative 9, this is greater than. 27 divided by a negative 9 is negative 3. So, when it's greater than, do you want your smallest number to be on the right? You do, right? And so you're gonna have an open circle at negative 3, an open circle at 2, and you're gonna shade in between. So do you guys know that that would be our answer then? Did you think it was hard today? A little bit? Would help if I wasn't making mistakes. So this is your assignment then, and then like I said, tomorrow's kind of with this, but it's absolute value, which is a little bit harder. So just let me know if you think I need to spend a little more time on absolute values on Monday. That would be something I can do for sure. And then I'll find the key for this too.
You must have really been in it, but you're pretty sweaty
All right, guys, so I'm gonna put the key up here.